So hold on, I don't think people will appreciate. They may think that we've known each other forever, and we haven't. In fact, the first time that you met most of us was this week, and you sat in the ELT meetings and the SLT meetings, right? So what was your thoughts? I mean, we aren't a big Band-Aid company, right? We are a big mistake company. We make mistakes all day long because we swing for the fences every day, right? But most people look at failure is something that's the same as a mistake, and mistakes and failures are completely different. And then those that look at failure look at it as a negative. Maybe it's the way they were born and raised. You know, they were probably raised to not talk about controversial shit, you know, like religion or politics, but they probably definitely they're not designed to be confrontational. A lot of people are designed to be born to just not trade paint with others, because somewhere that confrontation or engagement was seen as a negative, or the way that you fail could be negative. I've never learned a single thing from anything I've ever done right? I have to fail to get better. And some people that will be like, oh, you failed again. I'm like, and I'm learning again, right? So we fail horribly as a business every day. We just try to not make the same mistakes twice. We fail forward. I think that's what every company wants, right? But mistakes that we make are the ones that we know better, but we've made the decision to take it easy, or, you know, we don't have the discipline maybe, or the external motivation to make the right decision. So we will make the mistake because it's easier. Big difference. Failing's awesome. Mistakes, I mean, that's when ass chewings are necessary, it feels like, right? So you saw us exposing, well, every month I bring together the Misfit Toys and we try to figure out, it's like a keep, stop, start. What do we need to keep doing? What do we need to stop doing? What do we need to start doing? And it's iterative. Like it's every month, leadership teams at every business are adjusting and repivoting because they drift, right? And you were sitting in here as we were ripping the Band-Aids off of the ELT level of management and the SLT, and we had you sit as a guest because it's always good to get a third party's. We know what we see from the inside looking out. It's good to have someone from the outside looking in, and you got to see some of that. And at the same time, you kind of see what we're really all about, right? I mean, obviously the things that we write on whiteboards are one thing, but the way that we engage with each other, it defines who we are as our character. Do you agree?
100%. I mean, what you guys are talking about right now in this podcast is your culture. And seeing that culture this week was wonderful. Yeah, I mean, it's a mess, but yet you have to have that in order for growth. And what I loved the best was everyone was unapologetically, authentically themselves and willing to do more for the team. And that to me was so cool because you guys work so hard and what you're doing is very, very, I mean, it's mission critical. You cannot mess up. So when you're operating at that level and at that level of growth, yeah, you need to like cut it loose every once in a while and sit back and say, like, how are you? What's going on? Let's just like vibe out for a while now because we got to shut this down because it is go time right now. You are at an inflection point. This whole industry is, and you guys are leading the culture. And what you are giving with DCAC and these experiences is beautiful. Everybody needs that in the industry.
We're trying to change the industry so the industry isn't so unknown, and there's not a perceived barrier to entry where it's so hard because it's a data center that not everybody could do it. If I could take Army guys like them, you were military intelligence and security, and you were lack of intelligence and what?
Infantry.
Yeah, there you go. It's the same thing, right? So infantry basically means I didn't score high enough on my ASVAB, right?
Yeah, something like that. Actually, we
Look,
scored
I'll be
the
the person-
highest by average.
I'll say this. Combat infantry people seem to be better in the field
100%.
than like Navy nukes or Air Force paras.
Yeah.
Just because they deal with the emotional range. Think about it. Half our team, if this was like 300 in Sparta, and I said, what is your profession? I mean, your profession prior to this was to kill evil, right? Half of our team has spent a fair amount of their young career destroying evil, right? And that means that they were killing bad people, right? And evil's got to go. Somebody's got to do it. And our team does that, but you bring these people that are so selfless, that are used to taking on evil every day. And now we're dealing with these situations where I remember asking Jesse one time, it was a situation in which everybody should have been overwhelmed with stress. And Jesse was moving better. He goes, I don't know. I just do better when people are shooting at me or throwing grenades. And it was a real testament to the emotional range that infantry people have. But then he also was like, and let's not fucking take this too serious. We're all going home tonight. No one's going to die. No one's going to have to worry about stepping on something on the way to the car. So like that whole mindset is what allows us to rotate and focus more on the fun shit, because it's not the innovation that is going to inspire the younger generations to flood this in. We're at the silver tsunami. More than half of our industry's been here for more than 20 years. As soon as the economy comes back, maybe after an election year, we're going to start seeing a massive drop off of those that were here during the genesis or the birth of the whole industry. And with them leaving takes a shit ton of tribal knowledge and wisdom with it. And we're not recruiting the younger people out of the military, out of high school, or out of college fast enough, or from the trades. And that's going to be a big problem. It's going to be a healthy problem. It's going to be a good problem for us to fix. But the social dynamic and chemistry that we need to do to bring and aggregate and consolidate the labor market is going to be critical, which is why we're creating content, disruptive content, and putting it out in the market. And we want people that are on the inside and the outside to understand how accretive this industry is for their lifestyle, which is why, like, for people to understand, Dakota Meyer won the Congressional Medal of Honor, and he was the first man to do it and win it while being alive in like 41 years from the time that he got it. And he's going to be taking Jesse and another combat infantry guy that has seen a lot of combat, and the two of them will spend 30 days together in a workshop going through owning the dash, right? And the Own the Dash campaign is going to be something that we're going to be putting content out for the next 10 weeks. But that is a chance to reinvent you, right? Mm-hmm. And that will be a symbol for anybody, not just combat infantry people, but people that could reinvent themselves to get into this industry and still continue to add value and thrive. And we could do those things in this space while never having to compromise the amount of fun we have. Would you agree?
100%. But I think it, it goes without saying that we work 10 times harder. You know what I mean? Like everybody, sure, everybody comes to the events and everything like that, and they need it. Like everybody said, they need it.
The conferences,
the networking,
you got to be around
all
your peers.
That, you know what I mean? Going to the happy hours, things like that. But I think we all need it, and I've developed some of the best friendships in this industry, because it's. I think the reason that I have loved data centers and been able to do well in the data center industry is because, similar to the military, right? I don't want to say shared suck experience, like nothing about
shared
this.
Suffering.
Yeah, like nothing about this industry sucks, but maybe suffering's the right way to do it, right? Because at some point, everybody, like whether it's sleeping on a data center floor because you're doing commissioning, late at night, or you're working late because we don't miss dates in this industry, right? You have to work very hard in this industry to leave a mark or be successful. There's a lot of smart people in this industry already, right? But the industry needs some leaders, right? And it needs the next wave that's ready to step up and take charge. And I think that, I tell my kids now, and I mean, my kids are pretty young, but I want them to be savages, so I tell them now, like, if you even got a little bit of it in you, if you even got a little bit of savage in you, like coming up right now, could you imagine? You know what I mean? Like, you can go out and absolutely dominate if you want to. Same thing with this industry. If you come in and you're willing to work and you're willing to, when I first came in, I was away from my family out on the West Coast, right? I was there for 30 days, go home for a couple of days, go back for 30 more.
That's because you talked some shit when you were.
I did.
I was like, we'll see.
I did. But the reason that was great was I had total immersion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I tried to be the first one on site, the last one to leave. I went to school while I was doing that, right? I was already away from the family, like go to school at night, everything like that. But I dedicated my life to it for a little while. and so far beyond anything I could have ever imagined, you know what I mean? Coming from Pigs Knuckle, Ohio, in a small little town, and it it was an awesome thing, and like you said, we need to get more people like the Skylers and the Mikes and
Yeah.
everybody into this industry, because it's not just gonna be our industry that is gonna see this, right? I mean,
We touch every industry.
100%. And you also have an entire generation of people that, you know, when I was in school, a school counselor would have told you, "Oh, you're just gonna be a plumber." You know what I
Go work in
mean?
a manufacturing
Or
plant.
you're just gonna be an electrician, you know, you're not gonna amount to this, that.
That's an awesome job, awesome
Hey,
profession.
1,000,000%. But I promise you, across the nation, you know, there's an entire generation that was told, "You're kind of a failure if you don't go to college."
Oh, yeah, you're only
You get what I'm
if you're a
saying?
failure if you join the military or the trades,
100%.
which are the people that are kind of running this industry right now, it seems like.
100%. And not only that, like, you know, you mentioned, you know, when the cycle changes or whatever, you know, the economy is gonna come back. There's gonna be building. Like, things will return to what they have always been.
Well, our industry is still growing at a double-digit CAGR despite
Exactly.
the global pandemic and the byproduct
Exactly.
of the ripple effect or the hangover of that, right?
Yep.
Supply chain challenges. I mean, the adoption of IoT before we got to cloud to now AI, which is going to rip off cloud's head and shit down its neck in terms of demand,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's unprecedented. And every time I talk to someone who's paid to care about that capacity from a space power and cooling as well as land and power, they're freaking out. Even if you're one of the big boys, they're freaking out. That's the hardest job right now is finding out. I mean, I just did a podcast with Jennifer Reniger, who's lights out, right? She's probably one of the best in the game at the development game, the development requirement game. And she's always going out and looking for where's the land, where's the capacity on the grid at in the country. It doesn't have to be an NFL city. It could be a second tier, third tier market that's emerging. And she's like, we just need to find places to put shit. I have Jim Roach of Cyrus One, who's speaking at DCAC this year, and he's talking about SMRs, small modular reactors. Who would have thought that we would be looking at data centers and going, let's top, these are 25 megawatt reactors, much like what you would have on a submarine. And I mean, we don't lose those reactors. I mean, there's no submarines that have had incidences. I mean, it's the safest thing that you could do. So I think that there's a way to, we're going to have to solve for power. And there's a documentary that I recommend everybody watch called Nuclear Now. It's on Apple TV probably. It's Oliver Stone. And he does a great job of disconnecting, decoupling nuclear weapons and the fear that nuclear has from that perspective, from nuclear energy, which has the ability to stop climate control or, to help improve climate control. Regardless of what you believe in, we are polluting and we are wasting, and nuclear power would be one of the alternatives that just has this construct in our brains that we've been, we grew up with propaganda, and being conditioned to think that going to college is good, and if you don't, you won't be happy, right? Or this is good or this is bad. And the reality is we're going to have no choice. There's going to run out of minerals that can make battery powered cars. We're going to run out of components, and we're going to have to change a lot of things. And you don't have people listen to this. It's not a political statement. This is not. They don't.
Yeah, the city of San Antonio is being powered by a nuclear plant in Bay City, Texas, called STP, which has partial ownership of Toshiba, and it's all nuclear.
And you're going to see hopefully a lot more emerging and adoption of that, because you'll see a lot less CO2 emissions. And I think that, if you've not met Dean Nelson, he really is trying to kick off the climate accord agreement within the data center industry to make us more responsible for ourselves and less dependent on third-party governance and regulation to tell us and dictate what we need to do, what's best for us. We should self-govern better. And I think we all agree the more we could self-govern better versus having regulation imposed on us from whatever authority having jurisdiction, which market, we would rather be policing ourselves, because we will hold ourselves better accountable to a higher standard. And I think that the chorus sings better than the soloist, so that when you see an outlier, if you're an operator and you've decided to not make ESG a factor, well, I don't know shit about that, but every operator I know is competing over the the same top 10 customers. It turns out those people represent 80% of the market spend, and they get to dictate exactly what they're going to go put their money into. And they're not going to go invest into somebody that's wasting water and wasting power and wasting land. And does that make sense? They need to have, I'm pretty sure that those are the groups that are so sophisticated today that they don't even go into a market unless they understand how to quantify and measure the positive impact they make to a community by maybe repurposing a distressed asset or changing the place of an engine, an economic engine within a community. So they used to have something in the automotive industry, arbitrarily speaking, and that industry took it in the pants. So now it's time for something else to emerge. And how great would it be that they could have access to an educated labor market, and they could repurpose them for data centers, right? I mean, I was talking to someone at Meta yesterday who's doing that same thing. They're going up into the Rust Belt and they're repurposing manufacturing plants so they could create modular components of their own product, and they could rescue a community and give people jobs, and it's all in service of something really good, which is what this industry is trying to produce. So this is the industry that has the best of both worlds, right? We can go out. It's not really defined yet, right? I mean, the soup's not done cooking on this industry. So we go out and we just try to figure out how we could advance the system. And some of us do that by trying to think about the most creative ways to introduce, implement, and adopt innovative technology. And some of us are doing it by going out and hosting cornhole tournaments and beer pong tournaments and conferences, because I could get Sean Tugwell of PayPal to show up to something like that because he wants to learn about what the operators are doing, because he's a large enterprise end user and he has a duty and responsibility to understand how to stay at the tip of the spear in this industry at all times. So he's giving the best that he can to his business. How's that any different from the guy from Cyrus One or the girl from this company or or even the manufacturers and vendors that sponsor? We only have one sponsor that speaks, and it's a very brief speech. It's not a commercial. It's more about thanking people for what it means to them to be there and how this industry is transforming. But this industry is changing because of the big fat brains that come into it. Plus, there's a lot of people with a lot of powerful energy that just want to have a good time throughout their career too. And we welcome that, because we've learned that the happiness advantage isn't when you do these things and accomplish these things, then you get to be happy. The happier you are now, the faster you accomplish those things. Right. So you got to be happy with what you're doing if you're going to be successful. And I think that by having these one-off parties that we do and doing David versus Goliath, I mean, Data Cloud, whatever it is out of like London, and they're coming into Austin just like AFCOM did. That's great. Let's go. We want a reason to step our game up too. And let's see if they could have a more disruptive impact on the community by what they have to offer than what we have to offer at our own show, or what we have to offer by hijacking their show with our own VIP event. Either way, we're going to change this industry, and we're going to open it up to where people are actually really they're enjoying themselves and they're watching themselves grow, and they're being fulfilled with that growth. And I think that would be what draws in more of the talent, because we're going to lose 10% of our industry to industry churn, meaning that they may be, due to the circumstances of their lives, they are going to be restricted to their the market that they live in, to where they can't travel, which is maybe going to change their job. Right. So we have industries like high tech, semiconductor fabrication plants that are exploding that need labor. We have manufacturing that needs labor. We have, I'm sure if you go to the store or the restaurant in the market that you're in, there's probably going to be help wanted signs, because no one could find labor for anything right now. Right. Labor is the biggest shortage, that's the primary line of business we use to generate revenue. And we're just trying to create a stronger orbit with that through the media presence. For us, labor is the focus. Hiring, recruiting, developing, screening, and coaching, developing, and training, right? So we have to bring on a lot of people, because you kind of have to sometimes kiss 10 frogs before you get the right one, right?
I got something to add to that too. And you talk about opening it up to where more people feel welcome to come in,
Yeah.
and, not having to have this VP title or, sales title or whatever, one of the best things for me coming into the industry was the fact that as soon as I come in, I got to meet Kirk, go hang out with Kirk, but, hanging out with Kirk got me hanging out with JT and Laramie and, Maldari, you name it. I was fortunate enough to get to, sit at dinners with these people, or just bump into them in a conference lobby, because Kirk would let me go to that kind of stuff. But the point is, when you get to be around people like that, right? Like iron sharpens iron, right? Or, greatness
I shared something with the leadership team
brings out
today.
greatness.
That link, I sent 2 links this morning to the leadership team. One was a lady giving the statistics that says when you are around people that are better than you, your productivity and your output it naturally increases by 15%, no less than that. So you are a product of your environment. You have to be really careful who you immerse yourself around. And I'm, as you know, extremely careful where I spend my time these days. But did you know that if for every B player that you bring on, it could do the opposite, but way worse. So if you're around people better than you and stronger than you, because iron sharpens iron, so to speak, your productivity, you level up by 15%. If you're around B players and you tolerate that level of mediocrity, you could regress by up to 30%. So one person could have that much of a negative impact on your culture and your team. So you got to be selfishly, like even with you, right, Tiffany? Like you're here, we met you for the first week. We've known each other we spoke months ago. And although it seems as though it was random, it wasn't. I mean, we very intentionally and deliberate in the way that we approach who we have on. But I think the way that we were engaging you, we're like, look, it's a crawl, walk, run. And remember, I don't think that you understood it until finally you understand it now, where I'm like, do you see how careful we have to be to protect that culture to where we make everyone earn I think it's a privilege to be at certain places sometimes. And we want people to feel like that when they're there.
I have advice for anyone wanting to get into this industry.
Yeah.
It would be, I love that you and Dakota have such a special relationship. And I am a mother first and foremost in my life, no matter what, for all children in this world. And being a part of getting to know the Congressional Medal of Honor Society and what their living legacy is. So everyone that comes in, you have to go above and beyond. Dakota did it on that day. Every Medal of Honor recipient did it on that day. And they didn't win anything. It was the worst day of their life.
And it's the heaviest medal to wear.
And it's the heaviest medal to wear. And their living legacy is the character development program. And they teach the 6 characteristics of the Medal of Honor, which is courage, commitment, citizenship, sacrifice, integrity, and patriotism to all children. And I've researched it. It's, any religion, any sex, a refugee child, it doesn't matter. It's a program out there that's free for the entire country. And so if you are a young person or anyone at whatever level coming into this, you have to have the ability to go above and beyond and to be there. And if you do that and you show that, then you're going to earn your stripes and you're going to get in and, you'll be just fine.
I love it. What other advice do you have for anybody that's looking to enter the industry? I mean, look, you just got in 7 months ago, and it sounds like you like this space.
You have to be okay with go with the flow. You can't come in with all the answers. I mean, you can come in with your background. You can come in with, your mind map and your collective impact and everything that you've done to build up teams wherever for whatever agencies or whatever company that you came from. But you also, my growth process right now is just being like, all right, Mama Bear, like type A, you're organized, you got everything going on. They see that. But I also need to be able to adapt, understand a little bit.
Yes, stay humble.
I guess stay humble. Just stay humble. Stay in your lane. And then as you start to be brought in, be like, okay. And then I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to be here right now. I'm sitting with,
Well, we're grateful that you're here,
I'm
man.
grateful.
This is awesome. You bring a great energy for us, and we need
100%.
Like you can tell by sitting with us that we're starving for that strong feminine energy that comes in a professional campaign, right? And it's hard. I'll tell you, I've had every problem from human beings, from the course of my career to now in terms of how many people I've had to hire and fire. And one of my mentors, laughs at me when I come to him with my anxiety, right? And who will just, the way that mentors will do subtly, de-escalate your emotions. And I realized that, like I've said to you before, I could give some of these fuckers a pot of gold and they'll still complain about how heavy it is. So the job is to not try to make people happy, but it's to try to make people better, right? So when you learn that you don't have to worry about that and everything's in service of that purpose, you're no longer emotionally, the self-indignation is gone when you no longer worry about the results because you govern by your intent. And my intent is to make everyone around me better, right? I'm going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But we're going to do that. But we know that we have these blind spots that we need stronger. We need more. Like there's a person that's starting for us, as you know, in 11-1, and this woman is one of the most impressive leaders I've ever met.
So excited.
Didn't hire her because she's a woman. She's gonna suck for me, right? Because she's gonna beat my ass. Well, I'll have to be twice the man I am right now to be able to have a person like that on my staff to lead part of my staff and help us all grow the way we need to. But yeah, I mean, you have to want to suck. You have to want it to be uncomfortable. You have to want it to make you better. Because if it's not, it's just not worth it, right?
But when you're surrounded with people that all will go above and beyond for one another, it will be successful.
Yeah, I think that I have enough people that'll help me. Like, I'm gonna have days that I'm gonna struggle, and these guys are gonna all have to help me, right? And I think that's the beauty about having a healthy culture. But I mean, Joseph, you got in this space. You've been here 9 months. What advice do you have for people that are sitting on the outside that may want to, like, this industry needs their talent, but they wants their talent too, right? So, what advice do you have for them? Like, where to start, what to get into, and
it's interesting because it is still, I think, one of the last industries that anyone, again, going back to, some guys we were hanging out at the cornhole tournament, I went back and did some research on them and no college. And maybe they went into the trades, or maybe they didn't go into the trades. Maybe they were just sales guys right out of high school for
some of my best friends never spent a day on college.
Yeah.
And they're dominating.
And they're doing really well, and they're enjoying in that relationship. And, I think that, a lot of industries, the financial sector, I mean, unless you went to an Ivy League school, you can't work in New York. And, that's that rigid approach. I get it. I understand it, but it's just not here in the data center space.
Optically, there's still a hangover though, I think, right? Because I mean, look at you. Remember when I brought on you guys, I was like, Jesse asked me something. I go, we needed a CPA and some MBAs, and we needed some of those EIEIOs running around because we're no longer a back pocket operation running on a spreadsheet. We were having real infrastructure technology platforms, real enterprise end users that are significant contributors to this industry, as well as the operators that house for them. So we had to grow up, and I had to go out and get grown-ups like you that had advanced degrees that had seen things and been institutionalized and industrialized through big companies. And then when you come back here, you realize like that stuff that you had to do was an advantage for those industries, not as much of an advantage here.
Right.
What do you think the greatest advantage is to anyone that would come into this space right now? What do you I want to hear each one of you tell me what you think it would take for someone that's listening right now who's either just got in this space and doesn't know where the bathroom's at, so to speak, or those that are listening, they're like, hey man, my friends tell me I need to pay more attention to this space. What do you think the number one advantage? Let's start with Tiffany. What do you think the number one advantage is to be successful in this industry if you just got started? Is it the education? Is it the MBA? Is it, is it experience?
It's the opportunity. The opportunities are endless.
Yeah, I agree with that. You can do anything in this industry.
Do anything you want.
So here's what I'd say to that. So people are thinking industry, anything. Let me tell them what anything is. There are 5 phases of a data center lifecycle. Okay, you have design requirements and development, you have design itself, you have build itself, you have commission and operation. And between those 5 phases of a data center lifecycle, there's 265 different jobs you could have in this industry spread among 9 different job domains. So you could be, and traditionally, like Jesse's the president of our biggest business unit, which is staff augmentation, which is owner's representation and project management, things along those lines. Now, those people, when you hire them, I mean, there's a finite amount of bandwidth to a human being, right? And that you have, what do you think the thing is that gives people that you are looking for the greatest advantage when you're hiring those types of people?
I think really what you look for the most is it's got to be somebody, at the end of the day.
It's character, though. It's not experience.
It's 100% character, because we really and truthfully, what you do is you mitigate risk, right? When you're trying to mitigate risk, that's really 3 things. That's time, money, and people, right? Those are where your 3 risks can come from. There's nothing you're gonna learn getting an MBA to teach you how to.
It's not gonna help you at the stage that you're at.
That's right.
But it'll help you at the stage he's at. He's in charge of, he's the force multiplier effect for every opco business unit we
Yeah.
have, right? So strategically, you need that.
But if you're asking what a PM
coming in,
that is coming in and is wanting to lead a program, right? You don't have to have an MBA to do that. You don't have to have an Ivy League degree to do that. Like, I was like Kirk likes to say, a bullet sponge. You know what I mean? I was an infantry guy that learned the mechanical trade, but I wanted more. I was willing to show up.
Why did I even
was
hire you? I
willing to
wasn't
give
even
a
about
crap.
hiring you, but you said one thing to me, which is what triggered it.
That I would outwork anybody he had.
And I was like, this industry is awesome because what you were saying is it has unlimited opportunity.
Yeah.
I actually don't look at experience as a healthy thing at all. And I'll tell you why. This industry reinvents itself every month at a minimum. Okay. So the way that we were building a month ago isn't the same as I'm going to be building in a month from now. So experience is great from a pressure perspective. It's indicative that you have the ability to tolerate and finish hard things.
Mhm.
But experience just tells me you have the ability to, it tells me what you did, not what you can do going forward, right? So this industry doesn't require you to have the most experience or be the biggest or the tallest or the fastest or the smartest. You just have to outwork everybody.
I must add too that it has unlimited amounts of learning. So
I'm
for
a great
anyone
example.
that wants to continuously learn, this is the industry.
Yeah, because it's not like it's not done yet. We haven't arrived.
Right.
This industry won't arrive until we've figured out how to solve for AI.
And not only
And we
that,
got a long way to go.
yeah, but you know how you said there's like 200 and some jobs right across the 9.
265 jobs between 9 different job domains.
But what's crazy
Just
about,
in this industry.
what's crazy about
And
that
that's
is,
sales, marketing, HR, finance. Right now, you focus on field construction stuff, but we will outsource sales, marketing, HR, BD, and finance as well, right? I mean, so like you can literally have any job in this industry. If you want to be in finance, you don't have to go work in finance. You could be in this industry and be in finance.
that's right.
You want to be in logistics? Don't go work for GE. Come over here and be in logistics, right? So every company has a supply chain problem. You can take anything that you studied. If I want to be, like I said, HR, cool. Be HR in this industry. This industry probably, well, actually, no, don't bring your HR shit
Our
here.
HR people are cooler than your HR people.
I was like, we don't need more HR here, right? But I mean, we kind of do, right? But what I was trying to say earlier is this is a business that represents society and it's not an incubator that will change it. So like we have D&I problems. We have problems with men and women in companies in corporate America that you have to work on because turns out, who knew, but all men and women think differently and they all have their own emotionals, right? So like you're going to have conflict. So I'm not going to be able to use my business to have zero this. And I think I'm going to deal with the unfortunate circumstances that exist in all aspects of our lives, which are some people have good days and some people have bad days. And we just have to decide whether or not they are of the meaningful amount of character that we teach them and train them to be better, or if they're the ones that we need to thin the herd with and get them out of the industry, not just this company, right? So this company, nor any company in this industry, although they have the attempt to make those changes, they're not going to change society, right? But they can change the way that we operate and function within society. And that's the governance that we have to hold ourselves accountable to. But the people that you're looking for, they could be anything. They just need to be willing to work hard and willing to learn.
I agree.
And if they're willing to do that, I'm sure that there's something that they have from a skill set that we can adopt.
That's why the transitioning veteran is a great candidate for this industry. I mean, they work hard. I mean, my God, what's the average wake up time?
I worked 100 hours a week in port.
Exactly. So think about that. So
That's not deployed.
They're already built to work hard and not sit around and wait, right? So they're built to work hard and then they're built to learn. They're constantly in a learning mode. And that's why, I mean, look at, what is our percentage of field folks in the military? Even though those folks didn't have experience originally, we transitioned them, got them certed up. And I mean, it's a continued investment that we've got to take. It helps, it hits on all the DEI components of it and ESG. It just really fortifies that, but it's bringing in a protected class into an industry, educating them on what this industry has to offer and bringing them into an organization like ours, which not only appreciate them for who they are and their work ethic, but really creates a tribe-based or family for them to stay with us for as long as they want.
Some of my best friends are in this industry.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the best relationships I've ever had. I mean, this industry has given me everything, right? I mean, I think the military gave me an amazing platform and foundation. I think the sports I did, wrestling, things like that, having cancer helped define me a little bit. But this industry has really given me everything. And I think to her point, I'm pretty living proof, right? I don't have an MBA like you, and I didn't go to some fancy schools, and yeah, I mean, I started off carrying a tool bag in this space, right? So I was a UPS service engineer when I first started for years, and I never once had ambition to be above that, right? I was so drunk on learning that the whole lexicon of this industry, from RPP to PDU to EIEIO, I mean, like learning the acronyms and learning you have to give yourself time. I mean, it's almost overwhelming, but you have to allow yourself to learn in this fishbowl and classroom and educational environment, because you're not going to learn that sitting in a conference in a one-way exchange where someone's on stage pouring shit into you and you're supposed to interpret that in a specific way. But you will, over the course of time, while standing in the line having lunch, or standing in line having breakfast, or waiting to get your hair cut or your IV drip, sit next to someone, and it's so unassuming, you don't even know who they are. So everyone just assumes that everyone else that's there is someone that's worth talking to, and they all just have a really honest and meaningful exchange with people. And I collect business cards and friendships with people that are just getting in this industry for the first time, and they're at the lowest part of they're as far away from where the decisions are made, so to speak, in the ecosystem. And I'll in the next minute be standing there next to, one of the judges that plays Caesar in this industry as well, right? So you'll be at an industry event where there's a little bit of everybody. I think some of those other industry events really bifurcated those things, and in doing that, they hurt themselves by isolating the VIPs away from the event, because the VIPs were going to where they felt better, and that's where a greater exchange of ideas was taking place, and that tended to happen at a VIP event. Mm-hmm. So I tell people, try to make everything a VIP event. Try to make something that I want people to walk away from engagements that they have with us and be like, do you remember that time that we went and did that? Those are the stories, right? Like, I think my kids want to be in this industry because they're coming back and watching all the crazy events and all the crazy things that you could get away with in this space when you kind of earn that. And day one, minute one, you should be just lucky to get to a conference. When you get going, yeah, the opportunities open up themselves to where you get to do a lot of really fun things in this space, yep. From, the Super Bowl down, right? And if you work for it, you'll get it. If you're entitled for it, you'll just sit there and envy it and be resentful the whole time because you didn't put in the work to get it, right? But this industry, it's fun as hell. I mean, I could promise you,
without a doubt,
I have had more fun than I've had more fun just doing this podcast. I mean, I was telling you on the way here, I'm like, I don't know how many podcasts have never seen the light of day. Because we had too much fun.
I'm gonna go now, and I'm gonna go mix up some Kool-Aid, because I'm gonna start passing it out now.
Atta girl.
I'm all in. So
pot committed.
Yep.
I like that. It's only a week.
I'm in. Got my new cult. I love it.
So how does one drink the Kool-Aid and get engaged and become a savage in this industry? I can tell you of one awesome way.
Let's hear it.
They can go to datacentersavage.com and unleash the savage and wear some apparel that promotes the industry that we're speaking to today. Just so happens we have the only industry. I'm going to challenge anyone out
The
there.
only merchandise company.
Merchandise industry company ever, period. Where can you buy? I mean, listen, you can go to the BMW shop and get a BMW shirt. Big deal. But we're talking about, you're not going to get a car shirt. I'm talking about industry-wide. This is unleashing the savage.
Oh, I think I have the savage shirt.
Yeah, it is.
There you go.
So basically, she's saying she's in the special forces of the data center industry, not Overwatch, the data center industry. So that's where we can promote that. You can promote that. Data Center Savage.
Well, listen, let's bring this thing home, right? Because I'm going to start doing these every other week, I think, where I'll just thank you for being here. We're going to mix it up, and you guys will all come back on this podcast, but don't be surprised if next time I have 3 completely different people. But I want to have a stable of guests that could come on here, and I want their stories. Their individual stories are great and allows people to understand who they are, what they do, more importantly, why they do what they do. But I do think that we could get lost real fast if we just take ourselves too serious. And let's remember that this is a really cool industry. And the more fun we have in this industry, the more productive we are, meaning we have a greater impact of the industry, which has a greater impact on society, right? Because every business ties back to this industry. I mean, if you have a website, you're in our industry. If you have e-commerce, you're dependent upon our industry. I think that if you use social media, you're handicapped without this industry. This industry is a utility. It's just as important as water and power. Can you imagine going to a home that doesn't have internet, doesn't have access to the cloud, can you imagine if your kids, I mean, you as adults, would probably appreciate it just fine. Can you imagine what your kids would go through if they didn't have this utility that's called data centers? Everything that goes into the cloud is just a data center, and everything, the cloud is
I'm
it's
calling
a
the
utility.
police on the guy who doesn't have access to the internet at home.
Because he's a psycho.
Because he's aware he's going to like make bombs somewhere.
Yeah,
so,
he's the guy they based the
Yeah.
movie Seven.
So
Wasn't
that's
that all of you last night?
No. As soon as we lost internet,
Oh no.
Jesse was talking his shit, and lightning struck right behind him,
Like,
and it ruined our internet. So we had to go to internet.
and then we left. We were like, no, we're done.
We went on and got
You want to know what I did?
What'd you do?
I fixed it.
That's what bullet sponges do, man. They just work through the problem.
That's right.
That's why you're the best, Jess.
Oh, yeah.
Well, listen, this is the first of many. Anything else that you want to leave with any of the listeners for the first time? Because I do hope to get some of the other listeners on here as guests too. We'll be doing podcasts all throughout DCAC Live and stuff. But I want the industry stories to unfold, because this industry is awesome. And I can't imagine if you're in this industry and we're losing 10% of our industry to other industry, that's tough. If we're losing 10% of our workforce to churn within the industry because they're going from Jacobs to Schneider or whatever, that sucks. We see a lot of guys that work for one operator one day, they work for the next operator the next. That doesn't help our industry. We need to inflect more people into this industry. And to do that, we need to give them a reason why. And some aren't going to be inspired by the big fat brains that they're listening to. Some are going to be inspired by the fun stories that they're like, wait a second, I get to go out and go hunting or fishing or golfing or, what all the million things that this industry has to offer, and still grow and learn and advance your career. Why wouldn't I do that? Not every industry offers that, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that we're really focused on gating that future wave of talent, because the tsunami wave, the silver tsunami that's coming, is going to wash away a large part of our workforce, or they're going to make them so it'll almost be untenable, because they'll be able to work like, I'll work 2 days a week and it's twice as much now. You know what I'm saying? Because their need is so high, the value is so high. We need to start cross training now. There's just not enough people, and I think people are like, that's not going to be my problem, I'll find it. But people like us that build, like, we don't build data centers. We build teams, we build leaders. They go out and build data centers for our clients. Now, something's going to happen that's going to trigger a completely different change in labor. And that means all of these customers that we have that rely on us for staff augmentation, they're going to be trying to get all of our employees and hire them direct, right? So our biggest threat is our clients hiring our people, but that's not really a threat to us. We like that. It's like a try and buy model. I'd like to have them hire all of our people full time if that's where our people would rather be. And then we'll just go build, develop, coach, and train, and mentor more. As long as we're populating the industry with new people instead of just passing them around, then we're contributing to the industry's growth, right? So that's the purpose. So what do you have to bring this thing home that you feel is worth mentioning that falls in line with those things?
I think it's just worth mentioning that, you guys are a perfect example of,
9 months, 7 months, and they're already helping contribute in massive ways.
And honestly, like, having not been involved with the data center industry before or anything like that, right? Like, you guys came in and have proven that you can add value, you know what I mean? And proven that we just need more people willing to come into this industry and put in some work.
And reinvent themselves.
That's right.
I mean, like, listen, what's it been like for you? Because
it's crazy. I mean, it's refreshing, because early in my career, I did take on the work hard approach, but then you start to get smart, which then allows you to work less hard.
Smarter. Yeah.
So I like the working hard and using my smart. So using the smarts, I got the real good smarts, and while working hard actually is, it's a shift. And, I think everyone should It's difficult because we're all groomed, especially in these big boxes and in these organizations where you're trained to eventually do less and make more, that there shouldn't be that you shouldn't wait for that. You shouldn't wait, get to that certain age where you're 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 accepting that approach. You should say, stop. Maybe I need to go back and shit bag groceries. The fact is, go back and work hard because this is it's too easy, and you're really not producing the results that you're supposed to produce with all of that experience and all of that training and education, and you're not producing the same amount of results that you're built to produce. So it's for me personally, it's been eye-opening to be held account, and to put in the work and not say, okay, well, this is done now, I deserve some time off. What are we going to do next? What are we going to do next?
Yeah.
And so that keeps that willing. And I'll tell you, 5 years from now, it'll feel like a year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What about you, Tiffany? Anything else to add before we bring it home?
Yeah, there's a lot to add, but I don't know how to put the bow on it. I mean, let's go.
Yeah, I got it. Well, listen, we're all back here in a couple of weeks. I mean, Joe and I live here. You two are coming back for DCAC, and that's going to be a crazy ride. But
Be a great time.
we'll be looking for you all to contribute more to these podcasts as we go. But the truth is this segment, and we'll find a cool name for it, will be really designed to bring on guests throughout the industry that can share the amazing times they had. Maybe they don't want to be on stage talking about, the growth of the industry, but maybe they want to talk about their own personal growth. And on this podcast, and this is an invite to anybody that's listening, if you want on this podcast to share your story about how this industry changed your life maybe, or gave you, or how it blew you off your feet. Like you didn't even know what it had to offer. You just stumbled upon it. Those are some of my favorite stories. I mean, I stumbled into this industry. A lot of people don't know my story. I mean, they know pieces or parts of it, but I do think there's some people that have a pretty amazing story that will inspire beyond the technology that we're doing and the way that our technology improves the lives of everyone around the world. That's something that some people will appeal to, but some people are going to appeal to it from the other angle. And we need those stories too.
I have something to add. I remember what I was going to say now.
Let's hear it.
There's no wrong door. So if you're trying to come in and you come into this industry, everyone that I have met, a majority, how about that? A majority of everyone that I have met has been arms wide open. So long as you have that tenacity and that thirst, then, it doesn't matter if you're like, well, who am I supposed to talk to? Am I supposed to go to Kirk or Jesse or Joe, or who am I supposed to go to? You can go to anybody in this industry and they will get you to the right people of who you are and what you want to do.
Good advice.
I agree.
All right. Well, is that it?
that's it.
Well, listen, good work. This is our first one of whatever the series is going to be called. So I'm honored to be able to do this first one with all three of you guys, ladies. And I'm excited to see where this podcast takes us. And I hope that it reaches these people that are not sure where they want to park their talent or their career. And I hope that it reinforces their desire to stay here and maybe even spread their wings a little bit.
I think so as well.
Cool.
I think they will.
Well, thanks everybody, and thanks to all the listeners. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us, DM us if you have any suggestions. The soup's not done cooking, right? We're just getting started. So thank you for listening, and thank you for giving us your time. And I look forward to joining you again on the next revolution. So thank you for joining the revolution.
Check me out in Albuquerque, New Mexico, josephpinzon.com. Check me out. I'm on the silks.